Y'all remember that DMX song, What These Bitches Want? That line where he said, "Come on, ma, you know I got a wife, and even though that pussy tight, I'm not gonna jeopardize my life." Yeah, I don't think he meant to take a life either.
You are now listening to The Infamous Ones, a true crime podcast hosted by Kay on Spotify. A podcast aimed to uncover and share the stories behind heinous and insane acts that have been overlooked or overshadowed by mainstream media, getting justice for the voices that can't speak.
What's up, y'all? It's your girl Kay, and I am the host of The Infamous Ones, a true crime podcast, a podcast designed to focus on crimes committed in the Black community that you don't hear about in mainstream media, giving a voice to those victims that have otherwise been silenced. Ladies, how y'all feel? Fellas, y'all all right? Welcome back to another week of The Infamous Ones, a true crime podcast. Did y'all miss me? Because y'all know I missed y'all. What we sipping on this week? Now, I'm sitting here chilling with my snacks and I got my drink of the week. I'm feeling the holiday spirit. For today's episode, I'm drinking on some champagne. That's right, your girl had to pop a bottle because I got some celebrations going on, okay? Your girl is out here making some moves that ultimately are gonna set me up with a serious win. It's the weekend. I done got married. Oh, and best believe I'm gonna find a way to work that into just about every conversation. Y'all are gonna be so sick of hearing my husband this and my husband that. But, everything is going great. Just started working on this new story that I'm gonna be releasing in the first quarter of next year. Actually, it's two different books that I'm releasing in the first quarter of next year. One of them is a little different, but seeing as how I'm into the true crime world, I figured I would do this new book and tell this new story that will really have the readers going, "Oh my God." But I'll tell y'all more about that as it gets closer. But it's the holiday season and I'm big on holidays and celebrating. And Christmas is coming up. And of course, I can't wait to see the looks on my little ones' faces when they're opening their gifts. And, I'm just in general good spirits. It's time to pop a bottle or two. It's a celebration, bitches. Now, for today's episode, in addition to me popping some champagne, I got a little something that I'm snacking on. Now, I know y'all are like, all right, well, okay, you always got your popcorn or your M&Ms or whatever. And I do, that's true. But I got a little something extra. Got me some fried chicken. Yeah, like I said, I got some fried chicken. Remember, I told y'all last week that today's episode you was gonna need some chicken, right? Well, that's because we gonna be talking about the Chicken King. And what movie was that? Oh my God, what was it? Martin Lawrence was in it. A Thin Line Between Love and Hate. When Reggie came to the door to take Mia out, and he was like, "Well, I don't want to interrupt y'all driving up the coast in the Porsche, especially with your chicken fixing biscuit dinner." Like Martin was a damn fool in that movie, and I so could not take Miguel Nunez seriously because he was so thirsty in that role, like extra thirsty. Like, nigga, you pull up in a Porsche with some chicken biscuit dinner? Like, come on, man. But yes, I'm snacking on some chicken because today we're going to be talking about none other than the Chicken King himself. So I hope y'all are ready. Are y'all ready? Let's get into it. Y'all already know what time it is. Let's get it. This week's episode involves Megan Price, victim, Keela King, victim, Anthony Davis, surviving victim, David Kincaid, witness, and Quentin's close friend, and the infamous victim slash murderer, Quenton King. Quentin Edward King was born May 28th, 1979, in a little town of Eudora, Arkansas. And when I say a little town, I mean a very small town. Now, at the time of the story, Eudora got a population of about 2,800 people. But since 2023, yeah, that population done dropped to about 1,600 people. Nigga, if that ain't the town of fucking Mayberry. But in all seriousness, they are known as like the catfish capital of Arkansas. I mean, really, you can only really be known for one thing because it's nothing there. But that's where Quentin was from. His parents were Charles King, and I believe his mother's name was Linda, but there's conflicting stories that his mother's name was Betty Joe. It's not really that important because, yeah, you don't hear about them at all. But he had a brother named Kevin. Either way, still not relevant, but y'all get what I'm saying. Just a little bit of, background history on him. Now, growing up in Eudora, Quentin was a little itty bitty thing. Okay. Homie stood about 5'6", maybe 160 pounds. He had a really close friend of his named David Kincaid. Him and David, they kicked it together all the time. They were in and out of trouble, at some points, but David was a little bit older and he kind of was like a mentor to Quentin. He would try to help Quentin out and keep him on the right path and everything. And on top of everything else, David had some skills. Like, homie could cook, and he was very business minded, very business oriented. And, he taught Quentin a thing or two about running the businesses. David, for, all accounts, was a really good friend. He even introduced his boy to a woman that he knew would just be perfect for him, a woman named Jamie Lynn Thompson. Jamie lived in Scott, Arkansas. Scott really is just like a sub community of Eudora. I promise it's not like an actual big city or anything. Like, I guess you could say because it's only like maybe 30 to 50 people that live in that town. That's why I say it's like a sub community of Eudora because why even waste space on the map? But, whatever. Now, for the life of me, I could not find one picture of this woman. I could not find any information on her other than her being co-owner of their business. So I'm assuming that after everything that happened, she made sure that her ass was not linked to this nigga in any capacity. And I ain't mad at that. Okay. But anyway, Quentin meets her and, he's like, okay, yeah, baby girl, she cute, she bad, I like her. So they start dating. And this is like the late 90s. By October 2000, he done put a ring on the thing and he made her Mrs. King. Okay. He said, I got me a co-retta. And I'm talking about the current version that Jonathan Major's ass is talking about. Okay. Baby, Jamie put up with some shit. Now remember, I told you that Quentin's homie, David, he kind of peeped him on how to, run businesses and everything. So they come up with this idea to start a chicken restaurant. And together they created Chicken King in Little Rock, Arkansas, which of course was, the play on his last name King. But he and his wife Jamie, they went in on it together. And, David was nice enough to let them actually stay with him for a while because he had already moved to Little Rock, Arkansas. And, they were trying to get on their feet and everything. So David was like, yo, you my boy. It ain't no problem. Y'all can come and stay with me. And of course, Quentin is appreciative of that. So they opened up Chicken King and it was amazing. He and his wife were doing great in business. He had his boy giving him business advice. But Quentin wasn't trying to be tied down. Even though he said I do and told his girl that he loved her and all of that, and they became husband and wife. Yeah, Quentin still wanted to fuck around. He was still in them streets. Now, here's the thing. He had to be careful with that shit because Jamie was the majority holder of the restaurant. So even though they were co-owners, best believe Jamie's name was all over that paperwork. And I am not mad about that at all. Baby, make your money and keep your money. Okay. She wasn't stupid. Shoot, I'm not about to let you play me and have this shit in your name. Oh, absolutely not. So you could turn around and get the next bitch and I'm out here broke and I done busted my ass. Quentin needed her, okay? He just couldn't be faithful. So, about a year after he marries Jamie, he ends up meeting a woman named Megan, and he was all over her like Papoose on Clarissa. I'm sorry, y'all. Listen, this little whole Clarissa and Papoose and Remy, y'all, it is so messy. First of all, Clarissa, boo, you are literally a bona fide side chick. Okay, it's been all over social media and all of that, but at the end of the day, Remy is still very much his wife, the mother of his child, and if nothing else, age old phrase of if he cheats with you, he will cheat on you. You are, girl, first of all, both Remy and Clarissa both look like they can beat Papooses ass. Like he definitely got a type. But I mean, still, like, girl, you are tripping if you like you really think you won. Like you thought, no, okay. You might want to go ahead and like reflect, take a look in the mirror. But I digress. Let me get back to the story. Anyway, so Quentin meets Megan. Megan S. Price was born in 1979 to Laverne Price Sanders and Wilson Taylor. Now, there's not much on her childhood outside of the fact that she had a ton of siblings. And when I say a ton, ooh, baby, she had four sisters: Valen Williams, Kathy Heron, Wanda Austin, and Terry Wither. And she had nine brothers. Oh, my uterus hurts. Nine brothers: Wilson Price Jr., Benjamin Williams III, Tyree Price, Nicholas Swinney, Antoine Williams, Charles Taylor, Andrew Jefferson, Lewis Taylor, and Lewis Taylor Jr. Whoo, Jesus, be some Depo Provera, be some God Almighty. Mm. It just want to make me take my entire uterus and throw it out the damn. I just want to throw it out the window. Now, obviously, her father and mother had both remarried. So, like, yeah, it's like a big blended family, but that's a lot of kids. Shit, that's a lot of kids. Now, by all accounts, Megan was well cared for and loved. She was also from Little Rock, Arkansas. And around the time that she met Quentin, she had a little girl named Kiana Rouse. Kiana was like 4 years old around that time, maybe five. I want to say around 5 or 6, actually. But Megan had her little girl and she was doing great. She owned a hair salon called Priceless. And yo, I love the fact that all of these companies are incorporating their names. You got Chicken King, and now you got Priceless after her last name. And, she and her coworker, Teresa Griffin, they worked very well together. Everybody loved Megan because, she did everybody's hair. And sometimes she even did it for free, which, baby, that ain't no easy task because you got to stand up all day. You got to sit here and be around heat, burning your fingers and stuff, doing folks' hair. Whew, more power to her. But, that's just how she was. If the high school girls were getting ready for prom, she's doing hair and, she's telling them, baby, don't worry about paying me. Just, give me a photo of you in your dress with your hair done. And that was the kind of person that she was. And of course, Kiana stayed dressed and slayed. Megan gonna make sure that her baby look good, of course. So when Quentin met her, he was just fascinated with her. And, he's thinking to himself, damn, baby is fine. And she was so beautiful, y'all. She had the prettiest chocolate skin I have ever seen. And she had a gorgeous smile. So, of course, Quentin, he's smelling himself now because he, got his little businesses, got his little money. He's smelling himself. He meets Megan and he spits his game and everything. And I don't know, I guess she liked hobbits because, like I said, this little nigga's like 5'6" and he got her attention. So maybe she wanted to go to, Wonka Land and play with the Oompa Loompas. Who knows? But he started messing around with her, even though he is clearly married. He wasn't being faithful to Jamie, but, they were still doing great business wise. So he and his wife opened up another Chicken King location, this time in North Little Rock, Arkansas. Now, here's where shit takes a turn. See, Megan knew that he was married. And at first, she was okay being the side piece. Like, she ain't mind being the coleslaw because he was bringing the chicken. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Y'all know what I'm saying. So they're doing their thing, but Quentin's got a little bit of a jealous side to him, which is insane to me. Like, you in a whole ass marriage. How in the entire fuck are you jealous and trying to control Megan when you're going home to another chick at night? Like, sir, make that make sense. Not to mention that even though Quentin is married and also has Megan as a side chick, he out here popping out babies like Nick Cannon. What you talk about, Kay? Oh, don't worry. I'm gonna tell you. Y'all heard me right. See, Quentin had four, not one, not two, not three, but four children during the course of his marriage. That did not come from Jamie. Mind you, he's married since October of 2000. In that time frame, he had four children. Now, I couldn't get all of their names, but I know he has a son named Javante, a son named James, a son named Jalen, and then he had another son named Quentin Jr. But he also had a few daughters that lived in Texas, Layla and Tatiana. Now, out of those, there's like four of them that supposedly were during the marriage to Jamie. Some of them came prior, of course. So I'm sure she was, aware of those children. But those kids that were mentioned, four of them were during his marriage to Jamie, just with other women. So he and Megan had, I guess, like an understanding. But Megan was single. She was free to do her, and she did. And Quentin, again, to my just complete confusion, he's pissed about this. Like, he's like, how dare you? He on some Ike Turner, you can't get away from me anime. I'm in here kind of shit. Like, this nigga really thought he was fucking Don Juan or somebody. And it's always these little short motherfuckers with these Napoleon complexes that act like they big and bad and end up getting fucked up in the end. But I digress. I'm gonna get into that later in Fair or Foul. Yeah, see, I got personal experience with some shit like that. But yeah. Anyway, in 2005, Quentin gets mad at the fact that Megan was out there doing her thing, and so he sets her house on fire. Yeah. See, Megan was living in this house in North Little Rock off of Brick Street. Her and her daughter are inside of her house, and all of a sudden, her house is set on fire. She comes outside and she sees Quentin, and she's like, "What the fuck are you doing? Like, what is wrong with you?" And I guess at this point, he realized that he fucked up because this man takes a hose and tries to put the fire out. A hose? Really? So, her neighbors are calling the cops and he bolts. And Megan, she's not having that. This is stupid. He's crazy. So she goes down to the police station and she files a restraining order and she tells the cops everything. She's like, "Officers, I think that Quenton King is the one behind my house catching fire. Quentin Edward King. That's who y'all need to be looking at." So they bring him in and he's on some whole "I ain't do it" kind of bullshit. But at the same time, he's hitting her up and he's like, "Baby, come on. You know I love you, girl. I'm sorry. I just get so mad sometimes. But yo, they can't be out here locking a nigga up. How am I gonna explain that shit?" And at first Megan is strong. She's like, "Nigga, you burned my fucking house. You tried to burn my house down. Figure that shit out. That ain't my problem." But after about a month or so, all of a sudden, she changes her story and it turns into, "Well, I ain't actually see who set the house on fire. I didn't see anybody running." And the cops knew that that was bullshit. They knew that she did see him. They knew that it was Quentin. But they also knew he was intimidating that girl. He was telling her what she needed to hear so she would drop the charges. And that's exactly what happened. I guess she decided at some point that she was gonna stop fucking with Quentin because she met a new man and well, they were doing their thing and she ended up pregnant with her second daughter. And in 2007, she gave birth to Kennedy Price. And she doted on her baby girl. She loved her baby. But Quentin, of course, he all in his feelings. "You supposed to be fucking me. What the fuck you look like fucking other niggas? You go out and have a baby on me with another nigga? You supposed to be with me and me only." Yeah, she's supposed to be with you and you only, but you with another chick. That makes sense. Okay. Now, this is where Quentin's dark side is really starting to show because this man was so mad at the fact that she had, gone out there and had a baby on him, even though he had four fucking kids out of his marriage. But he decides that he's going to burn up her car. Like the house wasn't enough. So in July of 2008, he burns Megan's car. This little pyromaniac motherfucker has a history of just burning shit up. This time, luckily, she was not in the car with her kids, but he still burned it up like it was nothing. And after seeing this, do you think she stopped fucking with him? Sadly, no. She continues to fuck with this dude. She loves him. She's caught up on him bad. And he's telling her every chance he gets, baby, I love you. I know I be tripping, but it just drives me crazy to think of you with somebody else. Dude got a lot of displaced anger. And he kept getting himself into more and more trouble. One night in July of 2009, he's outside of this club called CNC and he ends up running into this guy named Christopher Hunter. They start arguing, and the next thing you know, Quentin shoots him. Like, just up and shoots this man for no fucking reason. I mean, granted, yes, they were arguing, so, I guess that's the reason. But Quentin shoots his ass, and of course, he gets arrested. But here's the crazy shit. Quentin gets arrested and they trying to get Christopher to testify against Quentin. And Christopher's like, nah, fuck all that shit. I ain't going to no court. You motherfuckers ain't gonna get me to do shit. Do y'all know they had to put an arrest warrant out for Christopher's ass to get him to court to come testify? So because of this, Quentin is able to plead out and he only gets 1 year of probation. 1 year of probation. Get the fuck. I'm so gonna come back to that later in fair or foul. Like oh my lord. So fast forward a little bit, and Quentin and Megan, they're still doing their thing. On top of that, Quentin and his wife end up opening another two locations of Chicken King. They open one in Bryant, and they also open one. I'ma fuck this name up so bad. Acadelphia. Acadelphia. Something's telling me there's a silent K, so I'm gonna say Acadelphia because that's just what it looks like to me. But it's also in Arkansas, so they opened up that location. So he's very much thriving. But when it comes to his personal life, that's where homie starts crashing. See, Quentin and Megan, they're going back and forth with their little bullshit. And then he gets hit with another charge because in 2011, he tries to burn down Megan's house again. But he's not successful. They have this just weird dynamic, this love hate thing. And Jamie is getting fed up with it. She's like, look, I'm getting tired of you doing me dirty, all of that. Okay. So fast forward a little bit more. We're going to skip ahead to like 2015. It's around February 2015, and it has now been 14 years since Megan and Quentin have been fucking with each other. Like, she could pretty much be his common law wife if he wasn't already married. Funny because Quentin is acting like Megan is just nothing to him and that she ain't nothing but a side piece. But the way he treats her says otherwise. He's treating her like they are in a full fledged relationship. And shit about to fire on his ass because in February of 2015, Megan comes to Quentin and she's like, listen, baby, we got to talk. I can't keep doing this. I'm tired of being the girl on the side. I've been rocking with you for 14 years. I want you to leave her. And Quentin hears this and he loses his shit. Bitch, are you crazy? You know that ain't happening. Why the fuck would I leave my wife for you? And Megan flat out tells him, "Because I'm carrying your baby, Quentin. I'm pregnant." And Quentin's just like in disbelief, like, nah, nah, man. Not the woman I've been fucking for 14 years. Not the woman I've been skeeting in. Oh my God. Did y'all detect my sarcasm? But Megan is serious. She is pregnant with their child. She gives him the due date and everything. The baby was due August 12th, 2015. And by now, Quentin is 38. Hot. Another baby out of wedlock. Another baby you done had on your wife. Baby number 5 that you've had on your wife, which is like actually your ninth kid or some shit like that, your seventh or eighth kid, somewhere around there, fuck. His life was destroyed. And it got even more messed up the next month. On March 13th, 2015, to be specific, Quentin and his homeboy Anthony, they decide that they're gonna go to this dealership to look at some cars. And Quentin's still cool with David and everything. They don't talk as much. So him and Anthony is out riding. Anthony Tyrone Davis, they hop in Quentin's 2014 GMC Sierra and they head over to this dealership, JNS Auto Sales in North Little Rock. They get there and Quentin runs into this dude that he knows, this guy named Joe Willie Mitchell III. Woo, these are some names, goddamn. They start arguing and they beefing. Next thing you know, Joe Willie pulls out a gun. He pulls out a gun and he just starts firing off. Just pop, 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 pop. He shoots more than 10 times and he hits Quentin and Anthony more than 10 times. Quentin got shot in his arms, his hands, and in the stomach. It got to the point that there was so much subsequent nerve damage that the doctor said it could keep him from having full use of his hands if he didn't have treatment. And, the funny thing is, he needed his wife for his treatment. He's laid up in the hospital and he's feeling remorseful and he's feeling like, oh God, I just cheated death. And oh my God, God don't want to hear me no more. And, all of that. And this is when he calls on his boy David, because David's been around since he was, a little shorty. Yeah, all pun intended. But, Quentin is telling David's in there like, yo, what the fuck happened? How the fuck you get shot? And Quentin's telling him, I'm I'm tired, man. I want to get my life together, man. I want to give my life to God. I'm trying to get it together, but God don't want to hear me. And he laying it on thick. He adding extra shit in there because who wants to admit that they constantly start shit? Like, I mean, hell, he shot somebody his damn self, y'all. But anyway, luckily they lived, but he's laid up in the hospital and all of that. Personally, I think it's his karma, but we not gonna get into that just yet. Okay, so I was scrolling through his social media and I saw a post that really made me have like absolutely no fucking pity for him whatsoever for the shit that he did. So on February 24th, 2015, this is like 3 weeks before he gets shot. He makes a post that says, I don't understand why black women always trying to undermine their man. I've never seen a group of women that don't like to listen because they think they trying to boss them. But the white man can say jump and they jump. It seems like a black woman want to challenge a man about everything, like they got a dick and balls. But when you gorilla they ass, you wrong. What happened to the older ladies who used to teach the young ladies? A man is going to be a man. If you think you're going to change him, you're trying something that only Christ can do. And as people were leaving comments, he then says, sometimes men are bossy, but we as black men and women, we got to learn when to let your man be a man and your woman be a woman. It's simple. Well, which man are you talking about, sir? Are you talking about your wife or are you talking about your side piece? Inquiring minds want to know because you got too many bitches that you can be giving advice. So who the fuck is listening to you? Now, the petty bitch in me wanted to be like, that's why your ass got shot. And that's why that's why your wife got all your motherfucking money right now and left your ass to rot. But I'm gonna save that for later. Speaking of him getting shot, I saw another post of his that was made on Facebook not too long after he was shot. May 25th, 2015, he had put up a post of his that was about a party that he was having at Four Corners Bar and Grill on May 29th. He had some type of partnership with this place and threw parties there a lot. So he's got his Facebook status that says, a few of my friends are saying, Q, it's too early for you to get out and have a party. You need to recover and get strong. But they don't know I'm working every day. The haters are saying, dude a fool if he have a party. The person who shot him might still be looking for him. But the person who shot me was never looking for me, and I will never get caught not ready again. Everybody is invited, even him. Like Gates say, fuck being quiet, say what's on your mind, say what's on your mind. I got peace on mine. It's so many people that say they my friend, but was screaming I was dead before they even knew right. All of y'all are invited too. Okay, so first of all, reading that had my head hurting because there were so many words that were misspelled, and the author in me just could not take it, y'all. But what was tripping me out were the responses that I was seeing to his status. So, like, one of the comments said, shit, even same ones that's going to be out celebrating with you were the same ones about to throw a party when they thought that you were dead. Never seen that many motherfuckers happy before in my life. For real, for real. But Quentin, get your money, shouty. Yeah. See, here's the thing. If so many people are happy and about to throw a party because they thought that you died, that sounds like there might be some, type of self-evaluation that needs to be going on because, nigga, nobody should be celebrating your death. That means something is wrong. Okay. Another one said, so many people counted you out, shaking my head. We will be there though. Thank God you're okay. God gave you a second chance. So if you want to party, don't let anyone stop you. Be blessed. See, this is why you need friends that will tell you the truth and not just pump your head up when you want to hear it. Like, yo, you got a second chance. Maybe that's God's way of telling you, hey, you need to slow down with the lifestyle that you live in. Not, yeah, let's go out there and do it 10 times more. Like, come on, man. But, while he's in the hospital, he's talking to David in the room. And, he's on this whole, bruh, real shit. I don't think God is listening to me. I don't think God cares about me. And David is being a really good friend to him. That's his boy. He don't want to see him down like that. He's like, listen, look, I know we don't see each other every day. We don't talk every day. We don't kick it like that. But yo, I got you. If you need me, I'm still your boy. And Quentin tells him, I don't know if God still want to hear me. I ain't talked to the big man upstairs in forever. But again, David is still being that dedicated friend. And he tells him, he's like, yo, God is always going to hear you, fam. He got you. Now, what that nigga should have been praying for is that God gave him a clean dick because this dude is just slanging his little penis everywhere. Now, you would think that after being shot, Quentin would want to actually do what he said and calm down and, get his life right, like he was telling David. But no, he may have calmed down for a little bit, but it didn't take him long to get back into the swing of things and doing his dirt. So he's still managing all of the restaurants and he's still dealing with not only his wife, but Megan as well. And she is moving along in her pregnancy. She's starting to show, she's getting bigger and bigger. She's doing her own things too. But she's adamant about Quentin being with her and leaving his wife. She is insisting, like, she's like, I am tired of this back and forth. You can't just keep jumping in and out of my life. You want me to be with you, but you're not making that commitment. So, what are you going to do? It's now around June of 2015, and Megan is a little frustrated with Quentin. They've been arguing a lot more, and Megan is fed up. She's coming at him with some, we got this baby on the way. What are you going to do? Are you going to be there for me? Or are you going to just keep half assing like you've been doing? Because I can move on. And Quentin threatens her. He's like, oh, the fuck, you will move on. But Megan ain't having it. She's tired of keeping quiet. So, what does she do? Hmm. She goes on Facebook and she decides to make a post. She makes a Facebook post tagging Quentin in it. And it says, I love you so much, Quentin King. I couldn't think of a better father. 14 years and still going strong. When you rub my stomach, it's like she already knows you. Keela Vernay King. She posts her status and she keep it moving. Now, her baby shower was supposed to be in a few weeks, so she's getting really excited about that. And Quentin is still worried this entire time. He's pissed off. Like, he hears about this status. And he was like, did this bitch just sit here and put my shit on social media knowing I got a wife? And people are just like, "Yo, what's up with this whole you got a baby thing?" And he tried to play it off. Man, I don't even know this crazy chick. She a groupie. She a fan. She's trying to come at me for some money. But he cannot let Jamie find out about his baby. She already putting up with so much. She's controlling the businesses. She's dealing with his cheating ass. All of that. He cannot let her know that he's got another baby on the way. He can't afford to lose what he got. That's his meal ticket. So he starts to and think and think. Sorry. I got kids, y'all. Sorry. Okay. So he's thinking and he's like, all right, I gotta think of something. This girl is 8 months pregnant and she tagged me in social media and shit. She tagged me to her shit. Now, it just so happens that Arkansas is expecting like this major storm that's gonna be crucial. So on the weekend of June 26th, 2015, Quentin and Megan had made plans to see each other. And it just so happens that the power goes out for several hours at Megan's residence because of that, because of the storm. So Quentin had actually told David, he was like, yo, I'm gonna go spend the weekend with Megan. And David's like, nigga, what? What the fuck is wrong with you? Like, why? But he did it. So he tells David, he's like, yeah, I'm gonna go stay the weekend with Megan. And, David's like, bro, don't you got a whole ass wife at home? Like, didn't you say you was trying to live your life better? Why you trying to be out here in them streets? I mean, it's a valid question. How you gonna fuck up what you got with a side chick? Like, you got kids out of wedlock. Granted, they didn't, ask to be here and they're innocent, but your actions caused this dude. But I guess Quentin had his own reasons. This is the best time. It's perfect timing with the storm and the power going out. He can disable his alarm systems. And that's exactly what he did. He disabled his alarm system and he walked out the back door, got into a car with an unknown driver, and they drove him over to Megan's house. Now, Megan's thinking he's just coming over for the weekend. He had told her, yeah, baby, I miss you. Let's talk about this or whatever, whispering sweet nothings in her ear. So Megan is getting ready to spend some time with her baby daddy. She's ready for a good weekend. Kiana, which is Megan's oldest daughter, she's at her boyfriend's house. Now, Kiana's like 20 at this point. So she goes to spend the night at her boyfriend's, and then little Kennedy is at Grandma Laverne's house. So Megan is waiting on Quentin to show up, and it's about 6 o'clock when the power goes out over there. She's got candles everywhere, flashlights, all of that. Now, between 6:03 p.m. and 11:22 p.m., that's when the power is out. And during that time frame, she made a run to the Dollar General around 9:30ish that evening, and, she was checking on her people. She sent out a few text messages, and that was like maybe around 10:20 p.m. So after that is when she went silent, because after that is when Quentin appears. Now, he's got about roughly an hour because the last text message was sent out around 10:20 and her power came back on at 11:22. So at this point, I'm assuming Quentin came over and, he used his key because duh, they've been fucking around for 14 years. So of course he got a key to her shit. But he comes in there and he's just like, yo, you got me fucked up. You ain't about to cost me everything. Now, there's some conflicting reports saying that they had sex, and some said that they didn't. He made her strip, but he pulls out a piece and he goes right up to her and shoots her 3 times, two to her face and one on the top of her head. Y'all, he shot her at point blank range, so close the gunshot powder residue burned her face. Instantly, she dies. But to make sure that she's dead, he takes her arms and lifts them over her head just to make sure that she stops breathing. Remember, she's pregnant. So, it's more difficult to breathe when you have your arms raised over your head, especially at 8 months pregnant. And on that day, June 26, 2015, Megan S. Price is dead at the age of 36. So Quentin starts looking around and he sees her phone and he grabs it and he takes her cold, dead hand and unlocks her phone so that he can go to her Facebook and delete the post that she made about him being her child's father. And just as quickly as he came, he left and he goes on about his life. He's happy, high spirited, all of that. He goes to this barbecue where he runs into his boy David and, they chopping it up. And David is like, "Damn, Quentin seemed real chipper." Like, yeah, I mean, shit, you would be too if you had just killed your side piece, your secret baby mama, whatever you want to call it. But in his mind, he's like, "All right, I ain't got no more worries." In his mind, he's getting away with it. But see, Quentin was a little too happy. And, David knew that he was going to go spend the weekend with Megan because Quentin told him. And David also knew about that post that Megan had made. He had a little secret arsenal of his own. Now, I don't know if David was just sick of Quentin's bullshit or what, but when Megan had made that post about her being in love with Quentin, before Quentin could actually delete it, David had screenshotted it. Dang. I ain't think screenshots was around back in 2015. Hmm. Anyway, but David screenshotted it, and I'm pretty sure a lot of other people saw it too. So now it's, June 28th-ish, and Kiana is coming home. She been calling her mama's phone, but she's not answering. And their grandmother Laverne has been calling Megan trying to reach her. No answer. Now, Megan's coworker is also trying to reach her, Teresa. She even drove past Megan's house that Saturday morning and she saw her car outside of in the parking lot, and she ain't really, think anything of it because it's morning time and she's just thinking, well, maybe she's just in there chilling. So she goes on about her day and goes to work. But Kiana, she knew better. She was used to talking to her mama every day. She's calling and calling, but no answer. So she and her boyfriend go over there to her mother's house. And when they get there, Kiana walks in and she's calling for her. She's like, Mama, where you at? She doesn't get the answer she was expecting because she walks into her mother's bedroom and she sees her mother's naked body sprawled out on the floor between the bedroom and the bathroom. And she just starts screaming, "Oh my God! Oh my God, Mama!" Her mother is laying there dead, covered in blood. There's candles everywhere, some of which are still burning. She immediately called 911, but at this point, it's too late. And so she calls her grandmother and she lets her know, "Oh my God, mama's dead. She's been shot." And Laverne, she gets there with her family. They're all devastated. Who in the world could do something like this? Like, Megan didn't have an enemy in the world. She was such a loving person. This girl was literally a freaking Disney character. Like, she just made a bad mistake in her choices with men. But outside of that, she didn't have any enemies. So the cops get there and they're canvassing the scene. And of course, they order an autopsy that Dr. Adam Craig ended up performing. But they didn't order an autopsy for the baby. So they have to start telling their family that Megan is dead. And naturally, her family is devastated. They started talking amongst themselves and they're thinking, like, yo, we got to figure out who the fuck did this shit. We need to make them pay. And one of Megan's brothers had a hunch. So he tells his family, "You know what? I think that nigga Quentin had something to do with it." And guess what he did? He called Quentin up and told him, "Hey, motherfucker, I'ma fuck your ass up. If you touched my sister, your ass is dead." Listen, I feel that. Let him know, bro. He put some stank on that shit. He let it be known that he was gonna kill his ass, as he should. And honestly, that was kinda smart of Megan, to let her family know who she was involved with. Granted, it kind of made things a little bit more riskier, but this is why I always say, if you fucking with somebody that's a little crazy or you feel like your life might be in danger, this is where you have what's called a "in case something happens to me" box or file or anything. You start collecting shit. That way, if something do happen to you and God forbid you are taken off this earth before it is your time, the cops got something to go on. Okay. And so with her telling her family, like, yeah, I've been fucking with this nigga for this many years, that was smart because they knew he was the number one suspect. And bro was ready to, ooh, he was ready to peel his muffin cap back blue. But, Quentin, he's cocky. He nigga, whatever. I ain't worried about you, all of that, whatever, whatever. So the cops, they're just like, they're stumped. They have no clue who could do this. They're trying to figure it out. And they decide to start interviewing some people. And they're interviewing people, and one name keeps coming up amongst everybody being interviewed. There's one name that keeps being heard: Quenton King, the Chicken King. And they're finding out not only did Quentin have issues with her in the past, but they were having a 14-year affair. And then they do a little bit more digging and they were like, hold up. Quentin and her got some history because he tried to burn her house down back in the day and he set her car on fire. She got all of these restraining orders on him, all of that. So the cops think that Quentin is their prime suspect. But They don't have any evidence to link him to the crime because the only thing they have is her cell phone, which was, attempted to be destroyed when he tossed it out the window of the car. There's no gun left behind, nothing. I mean, they have a theory, but how are they gonna try to prove it, you know? So they contact Quentin and they tell him like, "Hey, we need you to, we need to have a conversation with you. Look, nigga, your ass is guilty. We know what you did." And the most damning evidence was that screenshot. Remember, David screenshotted that post that Megan made. And he hit them cops up so fast, he was like, "Yo, y'all need to look at this. I really feel like this nigga did something to her. I can't prove it for sure, but y'all need to check this out." Megan was laid to rest on July 6, 2015, at Rose City Church of Christ in North Little Rock, Arkansas, and she was surrounded by her friends and loved ones. I guess Quentin felt like the walls were closing in on him. I don't know if the fool actually felt guilty or what, but the next thing you know, a few days after Megan's burial on July 8, 2015, Quenton King turns himself in. And at 1:48 in the morning, he is charged with 2 counts of first-degree capital murder, one for Megan and one for their unborn baby, Keela. In true bitch fashion, Quentin pleads not guilty and obtains his good old attorney, Ron Davis. Ron has represented Quentin in quite a few cases. Remember when he decided that he was going to shoot Christopher? He was represented by Ron. He was also represented by Ron when he was charged for burning Megan's house down. So he obtains his attorney, and because he's charged with capital murder, there is no bond. So he's held with no bond in Pulaski County. Quentin had to sit in jail for quite a little while. Don't know why for sure, but the murder was committed in June of 2015. He didn't actually go to trial until 2017. So he sat in jail for 2.5 years. But when it's actually, time for trial, he enters a plea of not guilty for both charges of capital murder. And in that time, Quentin was a little busy, shall we say, busy trying to kill witnesses. The prosecutor for the case was John Johnson, and of course, Quentin had, Ron Davis. And the defense attorney tried every trick in the book between 2015 and the trial. There were so many different motions filed, from a motion to limit state witnesses, a motion to suppress evidence, and even a motion to even preclude undisclosed evidence. There was a lot of shit. Okay. There were several witnesses on behalf of the prosecution: Laverne Price, Megan's mama; Kiana Rouse, her daughter; Val Williams, her sister; Giselle Hardy; Kelsey Ellison; Mary Simonson; David Kincaid; Kenneth Allen Sims; Patricia Young; Lieutenant Greg Evans; Teresa Griffin; Mario Parker. Those were all for the prosecution. Now, what I did find kind of odd is that David Kincaid actually became kind of like argumentative on the stand, which really didn't work in the prosecution's favor. David testified how Quentin had told him at that barbecue that one minute he was happy and, joking. And then when he saw him with his wife, Quentin got stressed out. And when he and David started talking, he told David that he killed Megan and that, he was sorry about it, but he was out of options. But David kind of took the bait that the defense put out. Like, David was on the witness stand for almost 2 hours, and the defense attorney was arguing with him every step of the way. And I mean, he was literally arguing with him to the point that the judge had to check him like twice. And I'm just thinking to myself, David, what is wrong with you? This man is doing his job. Did the prosecution not prep you for this? And the judge was getting tired of it, so he excuses the jury and he tells David, like, "Mr. Kincaid, it would behoove you to remember that you are in my courtroom and to act accordingly." But of course, the prosecution sees this and they pounce all over it. They tell the judge, "Hey, the defense's questioning has been misleading the jurors and distorting the evidence." And the judge agrees to an extent, but there's still no reason for David to behave the way he did. So they let the jury back in, and then Kiana gets on the stand and she talks about how she found her mother and what was going through her head. And she tells the jury, I just, I didn't think it was real. I thought I was dreaming. I just never expected to come home and find her that way because she didn't deserve that at all. And when they start asking her about the baby, she tells them, I was already trying to picture what she looked like, what she would be like. My mama didn't deserve this. I didn't ever imagine this. She had no enemies. And it's true. Megan didn't have any enemies except Quentin. Her coworker Teresa got on the stand and she broke down in tears, y'all. She tells the jury, I can't tell you the number of times I was here servicing clients and they wouldn't have the money and she would still do it. She would still fix their hair. She talked about her being a mother and having another baby. And she says the excitement of it, the names, the baby shower that was supposed to be in 2 weeks, just becoming a new mother. I guess Quentin decided that he was gonna try the insanity plea next, but they ended up having to do a mental examination to determine if he was, within sound mind to proceed with the trial, which of course he was, because they saw right through that bullshit. So the trial kicked off in 2017. Judge Herbert Wright is presiding over the trial. The jury consisted of 7 women and 5 men, and there were many witnesses that came forward that presented their evidence and statements, including Sprint, who had their phone records from Megan and from Quentin. The arresting officer, the investigators, even the coroner who completed the autopsy, and of course, the inmates that had proof that Quentin had come to them to try to pay them to kill witnesses. Remember, I told y'all he was busy trying to kill witnesses while he was locked up waiting on trial? Yep, the inmates came and snitched. And Ron Davis, his attorney, is clawing his way out the dirt. He's going in front of the media and he's telling them that the charges on Quentin were propped up by partial truths and innuendos, some coming from jailhouse snitches trying to come up. I mean, as an inmate, that's typically what you do, right? Mm. But, not everybody can be, lying on you, sir. It's one thing if it's one person, but come on now. At this point, you're the common denominator. And you have a history of trying to kill this woman. So, how do you think people are going to take it? See, Quentin's problem is he thinks he got big money, since he owns these little restaurants. Do y'all know that during his incarceration to wait trial, that this man went to one of his cellmates and is all, hey, I'm going to give you $5,000 if you can help me get some witnesses killed. One of which was Megan's older daughter, Kiana. But, the funny thing is, like I said, more inmates started coming out. And one of them was from 2012 when Quentin approached him about killing Megan then. He had plans on killing her for quite a while, but for some reason just couldn't make it happen. And now that he was successful, the people that he thought was riding for him were the main ones snitching on his ass. Ooh, child. Mm. Damn, Ron got his work cut out for him. But with Quentin now propositioning inmates and offering them money to kill off witnesses, both in the past and currently while he's awaiting trial, this is when I really start to think,
No, you done fucked up, right? No, 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 no. You know you done fucked up, right?
when in history has anybody trying to pay an inmate to kill someone or get someone killed ever been successful? Don't worry, I'll wait. Do y'all remember? Nope. So, like, you have to be so desperate to do that. And all I keep thinking is like, did you really think that plan out? Like, did you really sit there and think to yourself, this is going to be successful? I'm going to give an inmate who's already in prison somebody and probably a nigga that I don't even know and say, yo, I can pay you $5,000 if you get this person killed. Like, of course, if they're in a situation where, they have a sentence that ultimately they have a shot of getting out, of course they're gonna go and use you as leverage. Like, come on. You really sat there, you fucked up. You fucked up, big dog. Damn, I can't even call you big dog. You fucked up, little man. You messed up big time. And now look at how your ass is look what's happening to you. Just look. So because of all of that, Ron's got to figure something out, the defense attorney. So now he decides to go after the jury. The defense attorney notifies the court that one of the jurors was friends with a deputy prosecutor and that it was inappropriate conduct, but that got denied. Now, even though he was on trial, on the second day of his trial, Quenton King was actually acquitted of the murder charge of Keela King. The prosecutors were trying to argue that Keela was alive when Megan was shot and killed. And you would think that it would be common sense because naturally, if Megan is alive, then the baby is alive because she's in her womb. But the defense attorney was on his shit when he told the judge that the failure of the state medical examiner's office to autopsy the fetus, when taken into consideration with the testimony by forensic pathologist Adam Craig, it meant that the prosecution could not prove that the baby was alive when Megan was killed. And sadly, he was correct. Remember, only an autopsy was performed on Megan and not the baby. And I know you're thinking, why in the hell would they do that? What could possibly be the reason?
Reason.
What was the reason?
I had a reason.
What was the
I had a
reason?
reason.
What was the reason?
I just explained the reason.
What was the reason, bitch?
I don't need to explain myself to you. And
What was the reason?
And it's a valid question because you would think that they would say, okay, hey, this is a child, this is a baby. It's not a situation where you're questioning the infamous argument of, okay, did it have a heartbeat? Like she was 8 months pregnant. She knew the sex. It was a girl. Like this was an actual person, a human. But the Arkansas State Crime Lab actually released a statement about their reasoning for not doing an autopsy on the baby. And they stated, the Arkansas State Medical Examiner's Office is charged with the responsibility of determining the cause and manner of death when local authorities request an examination of the body. In most instances, the examination will consist of a full autopsy. In other instances, an external examination or a partial autopsy is enough to determine the cause and manner of death within reasonable certainty. In cases where a pregnant woman dies suddenly and unexpectedly, fetal death occurs within minutes. When the mother has died from trauma, the fetus has died indirectly from trauma as well. In a situation where a pregnant mother has been fatally shot in the head, it is medically ludicrous to suggest that the intrauterine death of her fetus occurred from some other natural cause a short time before her own death. In such a circumstance, theoretically impossible. The answer is yes, but with the caveat that the odds of such a circumstance are so incredibly small that they are essentially non existent. When Dr. Adam Craig performed the autopsy of Megan Price, he also performed an external examination of the fetus. This showed no evidence that the fetal death occurred prior to the death of the mother. Based on his examinations of the mother and the fetus, as well as his medical analysis, he concluded that the fetal death was due to maternal trauma. This conclusion was made within reasonable medical certainty. In his testimony, it would appear that he did acknowledge that incredibly small chance that the fetal death was not due to maternal trauma, but was not afforded an opportunity to explain how unlikely that would be. In my opinion, the fact that he did not perform an internal examination of the fetus does not significantly weaken the medical rationale for the stated cause of fetal death. Finally, manner of death is not assigned in cases of fetal death, even when the death was due to violence. So that's what they had to say. The prosecution failed to prove their argument, so Judge Wright had no choice but to acquit Quenton for that particular charge. So there was a lot of outrage there because people felt like the baby was a human and he should have been charged for it. And I agree, but we will get into that more in Fair or Foul. On October 19th, 2017, at 10:20 a.m., the jury is excused for deliberation. It didn't take them long, about 2 hours, because at 12:55 p.m., the jury comes back, and on the charge of capital murder in the first degree of Megan Price, the jury finds Quenton Edward King guilty. There wasn't a second hearing for his sentencing. He was literally sentenced that day to life without parole. Now, he got credit for the 835 days that he served, which, I mean, does it really matter? Because the nigga's never getting out of prison. On November 24th, 2017, an appeal was filed. Now, y'all want to hear some funny shit. His wife, Jamie, oh, she was gone. Right after he filed the appeal, his attorney Ronald was trying to reach her. And he's trying to reach her because he needed her to pay for the cost of the transcripts and the records that he needed for court, which was like $3,452.20, in addition to the cost of the clerk's records, which I couldn't find the cost on those. But Jamie was like, fuck you. She cut off all communication from him. So that left Quentin an indigent. Jamie was like, ah, you on your own. She hit that nigga with the okey doke. She was like, nah, bruh, hit the road, Jack. Quentin had to file for a request for relief because he wasn't getting money no more. And wifey wasn't giving him shit. Yeah, in sickness and health and all of that went out the window. I mean, I wouldn't give you shit either. So he filed a request to have an extension, and his appeal was officially filed in April of 2019. And it was based on three evidentiary issues. First, he stated that the circuit court erred when it denied his motion to suppress a tape recording between him and a police detective. He also argued that the circuit court erroneously denied his motion to suppress evidence seized from his home because the affidavit attached to the warrant didn't contain sufficient grounds for the search and seizure of the evidence. And lastly, excuse me. Sorry, it's the champagne, y'all. Lastly, he claimed that the circuit court should not have permitted witnesses to testify that the victim had planned to spend the weekend with him. The circuit court concluded that the evidence was admissible as it pertained to the telephone recording between Quentin and Detective O'Kelly. And when it came to the recording, Quentin admitted that he had a relationship with Megan and that the baby may have been his. But of course, in his appeal, he was stating that it was an unlawful recording. Nigga, you are under interrogation. What? Really? With the police? You really think? Okay, all right. Okay. So the courts thought about it and they were just like, yeah, that's not gonna fly. And as it pertained to suppressing evidence from his home, pursuing the search warrant, it was a surveillance DVR containing video of home activities at his house and photographs taken by police inside and outside of his home. And of course, the evidence was admitted to trial naturally. But Quentin is arguing like, oh, the warrant didn't present sufficient grounds for search and seizure of the evidence. He's all, well, what does that have to do with this case? Them taking that stuff, what does that have to do? Which, of course, is everything. Like, it had everything to do with it. So basically, the courts told him, yeah, you out your damn mind. Appeal is denied. And that's what happened. On June 20th, 2019, his appeal was denied. But again, are we surprised? Quentin is now serving his time at the East Arkansas Max Unit in Marianna, Arkansas. He is serving a sentence of life without parole. And since his incarceration, homie has had a gang of infractions. 7 counts of possession of contraband that ranges from April of 2018 to July of 2024. He's got infractions for out of place assignments, disobeying direct verbal orders, unauthorized use of mail or telephone, trafficking and trading, and lying to staff members. I guess he said, well, shit, if I'm in here, I'm going to have fun while I'm doing it. Now, as to his wife, Jamie, or I guess ex-wife, probably, because I got a feeling that she has filed some type of divorce. I got a feeling that her ass probably had the paperwork done before he even went to prison. But she's off the grid. Like, I have not heard anything or seen anything of her. I don't even know if she's still the owner of the Chicken King franchise or not, but she definitely is separated from Quentin. So, win. And that is the story of Quenton King, the Chicken King. It just, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, y'all. It needs to be Chicken King, Quenton King, the size of a chicken wing. Okay, y'all. I'm sorry. Whew, yeah. Okay, so that's his story. And now it is time for Fair or Foul, where we look at the sentencing given by the justice system to determine if the sentence is one that is fair and fits the crime, or if it's one that's just unjust. For Quentin to receive life without parole, absolutely fair. While my first choice for an individual such as this who murders his side chick of 14 years and then murders their baby that he helped create, oh, I would definitely recommend execution and watching that little hobbit suffer. But a lot of states are now, trying to shy away from the whole row, death row thing. So, hey, whatever. Can't win them all. But I do definitely agree with him getting life without parole. I do wish that he had also been charged for the killing of this baby because the fact that the prosecution couldn't prove that the baby was alive, the fact that they had to prove that though is insane to me. Like it's common sense. When a woman is pregnant and her doctor says the baby is healthy, there's no reason to believe that the baby isn't alive at 8 months pregnant. The baby is alive. The baby only died because her mother was shot 3 times in the head, just like the, examiner said in the statement. Like if the mom dies, the baby is going to die shortly after, whether it be from maternal trauma or whatever. Once that mother stops breathing, if that baby is not out of her womb and on its own, it's going to stop breathing. The baby only died because her blood flow was cut off because of her mother's death. So yes, he should have been charged. It should have been it shouldn't have been an issue as to how to prove that the baby was alive. The fact that they had to prove it in the first place is a problem. They should not have had to have proven that that baby was alive. Y'all are reaching trying to get first of all, the motherfucker still got life without parole. So come on. I really think that's some bullshit. But at the end of the day, his ass is still sitting in there for the rest of his life. And honestly, I'm still trying to understand why you would go to such extreme measures. You've been trying to kill this woman since 2012. Hell, before then, why not just fucking leave her alone? You claiming you didn't want her. You claiming she was a bitch. You claiming all of this, talking about how she was ruining your life. Stop fucking her. Stop putting your dick in her if she's ruining your life. You were trying to kill her, but you kept fucking her. You made a baby with her 3 years later. You tried to burn down her house. You burned up her car. And then you were hiring other people or trying to anyway to try to get them to take her out. See, this is the definition of a toxic nigga at its finest because this nigga is walking around thinking that he is the best fucking thing ever. You little midget bitch. You literally manipulated this woman. Now, I'm not saying that she's innocent because she knew that you were married and decided to fuck with you anyway. She took a risk, and unfortunately, her risk was an ultimate cost because she lost her life. But at the same time, you're saying that you don't love her enough that you want to kill her, but yet you're threatening her with violence when she tries to go out and meet other niggas. You're telling her that you don't love her enough that you're going to burn her house down with her and her child in it and try to get rid of both of them. But yet, guess what? Obviously, Shawty girl had that wop or something because your ass kept coming back to fuck. You kept coming back to her. If you did not want to be with her, if you had the notion of, I want to kill this woman, you could have walked away, but you chose not to. You kept finding your way into her bed for several years. Not one, not two, not three, but 14 fucking years. Once is a mistake. After that, it becomes a choice. You chose to stay with this woman. You chose to keep this woman. You chose to keep fucking her raw. You chose to put that baby in her. You chose to kill her and you chose to kill your baby. Like you're sitting up here talking about, oh, you ran out of options. You told your boy David, I ran out of options when you told him that you killed her. You didn't want your wife to know that you had another baby out of wedlock. Why? You already had 4 on her. And let's keep it real. As cocky as your ass was, and with you being this little party promoter and all of this other shit, I'm almost certain that you were probably fucking with other bitches other than Megan too. I'm almost certain that you were probably out there in them streets sticking your dick into anything, meeting and probably meeting bitches at the chicken spot or at Four Corners or wherever that you was working and fucking them too. He seems like the type that uses his status to his advantage. Hell, you offering inmates money to kill the woman that you claim you didn't love. You claim you loved her 1 minute. Then it was, oh, I don't love you. Then it's, oh, I do. You talking about you didn't have any other options? You had plenty. You've been dealing with this woman for 14 years without your wife knowing. Well, supposedly anyway. Women, we know when a man is being unfaithful. It's something in our damn DNA that we were blessed with that tells us when he is full of shit and when he is fucking around. And I'm pretty sure your wife knew that you were fucking around on her because obviously you had all these kids, but she stuck with your ass. And I know it's gonna sound crazy, but Shawty was smart. Because look how it turned out for her. She got every fucking thing. And what did you get? Not a damn thing. Nothing. Miserable bitch. I mean, there were so many other options that you could have chosen. You could have, hell, as crazy as it sounds, you could have kept messing with the girl. Or, if she said that she was tired of being a woman on the side when, she made that whole status on Facebook about you being the greatest father and all of that, you could have just simply continued to lie. Keep lying to her and be like, yeah, babe, I'm gonna go ahead and end this shit with my wife and I'm gonna be with you. Or hell, you could have offered her money. If you can offer an inmate money to kill her, you can give her money to be like, yo, keep fucking quiet. I'm not saying that it's necessarily the right thing to do, but it's another fucking option other than murder. There's a lot of other things that you could have done that didn't include killing her. I hope that you are somewhere rotting in prison. I hope that you are getting bent over with your itty bitty leprechaun Napoleon complex having ass almost every night. I hope that some nigga bends you over and spread your cheeks so goddamn wide that they chafe. I hope that when you walk down the hallways after getting fucked in them corridors of the prison that your ass whistles from getting fucked so much. And I mean that with every fiber of my being. Like you are the definition of toxicity, true toxicity. And now you are getting what you deserve. That is all for this week's episode of The Infamous Ones, a true crime podcast. You can follow the show on the various streams on Instagram and TikTok at Infamous One Podcast. And that's a number one, by the way, not spelled out. And you can leave a review there. On Twitter, it's Infamous One Pod, where you can also leave a review. On Facebook, you can join the private discussion group, the Infamous Ones discussion group. Again, please be advised if I said it once, I got to say it a million times apparently. If you do not answer the questions, you are not getting in the group. It's like 14, I think it's like 17 people at this point sitting there that I'm not going to let in because you didn't answer the questions. It's 3 questions, y'all. It's not the SATs. Answer the damn questions so that you can get in. If not, I don't want to hear about it. Don't inbox me. Tell me, can you let me in? Can you answer the questions? If not, sorry. But once you get in, what's up? The show streams on multiple streaming services like Odyssey, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, and so on and so on. So please leave a review. It only takes a few seconds. Those reviews matter. One thing I am going to be doing for the discussion group is I'm probably going to get me a moderator because, I'm in there a lot. For some reason, I don't see the comments when they first come in. Like, I don't see them until a day or 2 later for whatever reason. So I'm probably going to get like a moderator. That way they can keep track of everything going on. Feel free to post stuff in there. I know some people will go in there and they'll post crazy stories that they've seen elsewhere. And totally fine with me. Somebody posted the story about Luigi, the guy that went after the CEO of United Healthcare. Yo, that shit was crazy. Like his picture, the way he was cheesing, I was like, this dude had sicko written all over him. But yeah, I digress. So speaking of reviews, let's get into a couple of those. So the first one comes from Spotify from a brown sugar thing. Okay, then. And this one was on last week's episode of Murder for Hire. It says, hey, true crime sleuth here. Love the podcast and how you tell the story. Keep up the great work, and I will definitely keep listening. Also, congratulations. Aw, thank you so much, darling. And I'm assuming you're talking about the wedding with the congratulations, but thank you. I appreciate it. And thank you for the well wishes on the show. I'm so happy about this podcast, y'all. This is like my dream come true. Well, one of them. I wanted to be an author, did it. Wanted to have a podcast, did it. And I got one more accomplishment that I want to do coming under my belt next year, and it is in the works. The next review is from Apple Podcast from Bionic D122, and it says, Best random recommendation ever. I love that. K storytelling has a way of putting you right in the moment. When I say my jaw is on the floor every episode, woo child, and has a way of saying what you're already thinking. So glad this popped up in my feed. What? Let me find out I'm being, randomly recommended. Yes, honey, that's what I love. Okay. But I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Hopefully you enjoy. For your, for all of those that do, feel free to invite your people, share it with your people. Hey girl, listen to this on your lunch break. Or hey girl, if you got that kind of job where you can, listen to podcasts while you working, send it to a friend. Re-listen to the episodes. I don't care. Shoot, keep it going. I'm loving this. Yes, honey. Let me find some notes. If you want to support the show, or if you're feeling the spirit, meaning that liquor that we've been sipping on, or in my case, this champagne, click the link at the bottom of the screen from whatever app you're listening to on this episode on, and hit listener support to subscribe. The subscriptions, I think they started like 99 cents. You can pretty much give whatever amount that you want. And it gives you, access for certain things that others don't. Like you get to hear it before other people will get to hear the episode, stuff like that. You can also donate via the Cash App to $infamous1pod. That's $INFAMOUSONEPOD. And the donations are going towards new recording equipment. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I kind of feel like when I'm doing the episodes, like it still sounds funny to me. So I'm working on getting better recording equipment, because the kind that I have now is just real basic. And honestly, I got the microphone from a pawn shop. So I'm like, okay, I need to get something that's a little bit better. I need to get some actual podcasting equipment. So it is coming, but stuff like that is expensive. And remember, your girl just had a wedding and got one, two, three, four, several kids. Okay. So it's coming. But of course, shout out to the popcorn donation gang. Y'all always send me my little coins via Cash App for my snacks. I appreciate it every week. You know what I'm saying? All right. If y'all have a case you want to hear more on that you feel has been ignored in the Black community, if you want to inquire about ad space, or if you want to leave a review, send an email to infamous1pod@gmail.com. That's INFAMOUSONEPOD@gmail.com. Or if you want to support your girl in her author endeavors and buy one of my books that range from, street fiction, urban romance, Black Lives Matter, true crime. I got a whole ass website too. So, feel free to check out my work at www.mzk.com. That's www.mzkaye.com. Or once again, you can email me at infamous1pod@gmail.com. And once again, people, please share, share, share. Sharing is caring. Podcast is growing every single week. The episode streams are going up every single week. And that means the world. So that means y'all are doing what I love, sharing. Until then, y'all know what it is. I'm your girl Kay. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see y'all next week with a new episode. Peace.
Thank you for listening to this episode of The Infamous Ones, a true crime podcast hosted by Kay. Be sure to like and comment on your favorite podcast platform and subscribe so that you never miss an episode.